The Digital Mirage, a Financial Observer's Investigation. Imagine waking up to find the future of finance was actually a digital ghost story, leaving millions of bank accounts hollowed out while the architects vanished into the ether. We've been fed a heist so sophisticated it convinced us that greed was a revolution. Welcome to Financial Mindset. I'm here to help you peel back these layers. Before we dive into the heart of this mirage, please subscribe to help us keep uncovering these truths together. We all know that entrepreneur next door, the cousin DMing you about moonshots while working the late shift at Applebee's. If crypto were a Tinder date, it's the guy claiming to be a CEO who's just cold calling for solar panels. As a financial observer, I've watched this closely, and I'm convinced this industry is the single biggest scam of our generation. Stick with me. You won't believe what is actually behind the curtain. To truly understand how this mirage was built, we have to look back at the original architectural plans, the moment a desperate world started searching for a digital savior. It didn't start with flashy ads or overnight millionaires. It began in 1983 with David Chaum and a collective of brilliant outcasts dreaming of e-cash, a way to reclaim our privacy from the prying eyes of the state. For 2 decades, this idea haunted the dark corners of the internet like a ghost waiting for the right moment to materialize, ignored by a world that still trusted its institutions. That trust shattered in 2009. Amidst the smoking ruins of a global financial crisis, when banks were being bailed out with our sweat and tears, Satoshi Nakamoto mined the first Bitcoin block. It wasn't just code. It was a manifesto, a digital middle finger to the predatory systems that had held our economy hostage. We were promised a decentralized utopia, a currency for the people that no government could devalue and no bank could freeze. It felt like a noble crusade for financial salvation, an escape from the clutches of greed. But looking back at that genesis now, I see a tragic irony. The very tool we built to outrun the system became the ultimate playground for the predators we were trying to escape. But as a financial observer who has watched technology move at the speed of light, I find myself staring at a 16-year-old promise that still hasn't learned to walk in the real world. In an era where we transition from the first iPhone to artificial intelligence capable of mimicking human thought in less than 2 decades, Bitcoin remains a functional fossil in the realm of everyday commerce. You see, a currency's true power isn't found in a fluctuating speculative chart. It's found in its utility, the simple, boring, yet essential ability to buy a carton of milk or pay the electric bill without a second thought. Yet out of roughly 350 million businesses worldwide, only about 18,000 technically accept Bitcoin. That's not a global revolution. That's a rounding error. Even the few retail giants that claim to accept it are really just playing a game of smoke and mirrors. They aren't actually holding your digital coins. They're using back-end processors to instantly liquidate those assets back into the very US dollars the system was supposed to replace. They do this because Bitcoin is too slow, too expensive, and far too erratic for the checkout line. Attempting to use it as a global payment system today is like trying to mow your entire lawn with a pair of rusty nail clippers. Sure, you can technically do it, but you're struggling with the wrong tool for a job that the traditional financial world perfected a long time ago. We were promised a new engine for the global economy, but what we've actually been handed is a digital ornament. Something that's fascinating to look at, but ultimately useless to drive. If this digital engine can't actually drive us to the grocery store, then we have to ask ourselves what we're really buying when we hit that trade button. The industry wants you to believe it's a revolutionary investment, but as an observer who lives in the world of spreadsheets and risk, I see a volatility trap designed to swallow the unwary. We're looking at an asset with an annual volatility of 60 cents, roughly 4 times more chaotic than the US stock market. That's not a store of value. It's a high-stakes roulette table disguised as a brokerage account. It's the reason actual money managers, the ones responsible for trillions of dollars, treat crypto like Vegas money rather than a real asset. When Warren Buffett calls it rat poison squared and Jamie Dimon labels it a pet rock, they aren't being Luddites. They are warning us that when you peel away the layers of this onion, there is absolutely nothing there. The digital gold narrative is a marketing masterstroke, yet it ignores the fact that gold has earned its place over 5 millennia of human history. Bitcoin isn't even old enough to legally drink, but we're being shilled into believing it's the bedrock of our financial future. It's not a revolution, it's a speculative fever dream. But even if you're willing to ride the roller coaster of volatility, you eventually have to face the cold, hard reality of the graveyard where most of these digital dreams go to die. As a financial observer, I find the sheer mortality rate of this industry staggering. It's a landscape littered with more than 3.7 million dead coins since 2021 alone. That's a coin flip's chance that your investment won't just lose value, but will simply cease to exist. This isn't like a traditional stock failure, where there might be equipment to sell or a claim on remaining assets. In the crypto world, when a project collapses, there is no liquidation sale. There is only a deleted Discord server, a "we're pivoting" message, and a deafening radio silence. We've entered an era where rug pulls are a feature, not a bug, fueled by a meme coin culture that prizes hype over any semblance of reality. It's the only asset class I know where you can watch your life savings turn into a useless JPEG logo overnight, leaving you holding nothing but the memory of a promise that was never meant to be kept. Even when the industry tried to build a sanctuary away from the volatility, it ended up constructing a house of cards that collapsed on the very people it promised to protect. This is the hollow myth of the stablecoin, a concept sold as the digital savings account of the crypto world, supposedly anchored to the reality of the US dollar. I watched with a heavy heart as the Terra and Luna disaster unfolded, a $45 billion implosion that proved stability is nothing more than a marketing slogan when it's backed by a circular, unproven algorithm. In just 1 week, life savings were vaporized by a system that claimed to be a refuge. There is a bitter irony in a movement that preaches don't trust, verify, yet demands total blind faith in a black box of code. When the illusion shattered, the architects vanished, leaving behind only the wreckage of broken lives and a sobering lesson about the cost of misplaced trust. If a complex algorithm could vaporize billions in a week, we at least hoped the massive, glittering cathedrals of the industry were safe. But that is where the story of FTX turns from a financial tragedy into a cold, calculated heist. FTX wasn't just another exchange. It was the crown jewel, the bridge between a nerd utopia and Wall Street, backed by legendary venture firms and heralded by celebrities who sold us a dream of effective altruism. At the center stood Sam Bankman-Fried, the disheveled genius the world crowned as crypto's white knight. I remember watching the media label him the next Warren Buffett, yet the reality behind the curtain was a sickeningly familiar tale of old-world fraud dressed in new-world code. While preaching transparency, they were quietly siphoning billions in customer deposits to fund Alameda Research, a private gambling den for the elite suite to place reckless bets on the very market they were supposed to stabilize. When the house of cards finally folded, the internal records were so non-existent that even the man who cleaned up Enron was horrified by the chaos. It wasn't a failure of blockchain. It was a total collapse of human integrity, proving that in this lawless digital frontier, the biggest innovation was simply finding a more efficient way to steal your money while looking you in the eye and promising to change the world. As the smoke clears from the wreckage of these billion-dollar cathedrals, we are left to confront the uncomfortable truth that has been staring us in the face all along. This isn't a revolution. It's just greed wearing a high-tech mask. We've been sold a digital mirage, a flourishing industry built on shifting sand with no real-world utility and zero intrinsic value. The cruel irony is that a community built on the dismissal of regulation acts shocked every time the lack of oversight leads to their ruin. Perhaps blockchain technology holds a transformative spark for the future, but the current cryptocurrency landscape is merely a global, unregulated casino where the retail investor is always the mark. I don't hate crypto because I don't understand it. I hate it because I finally do. It is a cycle of blind optimism that vanishes the moment you reach for it. Be smarter than the hype, guard your skepticism, and remember, real wealth is never built on shadows.